Greetings, YouTube, and welcome once again to the Mad Pod. So yeah, I'm going to keep calling it that. You can't stop me. None of you can stop me. I mean, you could just not watch the podcast, but to be honest,
That works,
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. You're not going to stop me. If a tree falls in the forest, it still makes a sound. And if an unwatched YouTube video still has a guy making a terrible blooming pun, it still happens. You cannot stop it now. So I am joined today by Toby Beck, otherwise known as Sergeant Beckett.
Howdy all.
So yeah, Sergeant Beckett has a very interesting relationship with the Man at Desk channel, because not only was he in the Nexus Point as one of the many doctors, he has also appeared as a character that he created for his own Star Trek fan series, be reprising the role on this channel as well. So we'll get into that. We'll get into that in a bit. But this is going to be the first opportunity, oh dear listeners, for us to include something that isn't purely Doctor Who. So all of y'all out there who are like pure Doctor Who fans, tell you what, for the sake of all of your delicate sensibilities who don't want to be bothered by all this Star Trek stuff, pay attention to the thumbnail on this video, because I will be changing the thumbnail from myself and Toby in our Doctor Who outfits to myself and Toby in our Star Trek outfits at the point where the actual conversation shifts. So yeah, you will be visually warned on this audio podcast. And if you're one of those people who decides to put this on while you're doing the washing up or something, it's when we start talking about the Starship Enterprise and shit like that, that's when it'll start. That's when it'll start being all about that Trek, Trek. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting because the normal structure of this is to talk about sort of
Doctor Who stuff and how
not just that, but how you got into the Doctor Who stuff and how you got into the fandom and recording and stuff in general. But what's interesting about this is there's going to be the little wrinkle of we're going to technically do it twice, once for Who and then once for Trek. So so I guess to start with Doctor Who then, because Doctor Who fandom and stuff. You and Doctor Who. How the hell did that happen?
I honestly don't know. The only thing I can tell you on that front is that the earliest memory of it, I have, is literally me watching Chris Eggleston. I couldn't tell you why I started watching it. I couldn't tell you anything about that. All I remember, earliest memory of Doctor Who is just watching Chris Eggleston and just continuing watching it through until now.
Fair.
It's so long ago, and I don't know why. I just can't remember how I actually got into it. I just can't think. I mean, it might have been the situation of it was on the telly and I happened to walk into the room at that point, or mum and Dan or whoever recommended I watch it. I don't know, but I just can't remember. All I remember is just being was watching Christopher Eggleston and then continuing on through to David Tennant and everything else. But I just can't remember when I started.
That's fair.
That's fades me.
So you've been watching it. You've been watching it ever since you were a wee baby, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, to be fair, same. But I'm old, so for me, being a baby was like the 1990s.
Yeah.
Because I'm old. So
yes.
So but yeah. So okay. So let's talk a little bit then about how you got into like fan audios and stuff. So so obviously you started out. I think you came. I think you came into the Man at Desk stuff through TikTok, did you not?
Yes.
So what was the process there?
So I can't remember at this point if I'd already been like following you on the site or not at that point, but all I remember is that I'd come across your Nexus Point videos a few times, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, that sounds cool, but I don't know. Kept skipping all like the advertisements for it. And then like one day I just saw it and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, let's just give this a fucking go. And so I clicked on the details to follow to the Discord server, and then I auditioned, and then that's how it happened.
Magic.
To be honest, yeah.
Yeah, so that was because that was like the depths of all the pandemic-y nonsense, really. So
Well,
I think everybody was just posting more on TikTok in those days than
yeah.
anyone does these days.
Mm.
But yeah, so yeah, so you're not you're not one of like the main doctors in it, as I recall.
No.
So you're one of like the we call them the cameo doctors, basically
Yeah.
because there's so many doctors. How does one construct that turn of phrase? Doctor Who's Doctors Who?
I
You're one of the doctors.
yeah, I would just say doctors if
Yeah,
it was
fair.
simple
So
enough.
you're one of the many doctors. So
Yeah,
I'm curious. So how did you, for the relatively brief appearances that you made, what
yeah.
was your sort of approach to the character?
Ah, God. Oh, well, it was. I think. Well, as this was my literally the first time I'd ever done anything into this in terms of like voice acting or anything. I think I just sort of, honestly, I think similarly to how I voice the character who we'll be talking more about later on in the podcast.
Hmm.
I just did the same thing I did for him. Like I just said it. I just looked at the lines and thought. I just said it how I would normally say in that sort of situation. And my main concern was at the time, because I mean it's unlikely at this point, but if anyone's here has seen any of my videos from my channel, then you might know that I have a tendency to, well, speak a little quickly. So my main focus was to just try and not do that, because I've even heard it back from some of my own recordings of other stuff. I think, oh, I hear myself perfectly well. I listen to it back, and I'm like, that I am speaking too bloody fast. So my main concern was not speaking too fast, but I did try and also so I think I just ended up speaking it how I would normally say it, just normally. Yeah, wasn't much artistic thought behind it, as it was my first ever role as an actor. I think, yeah.
See, that's interesting because it's interesting how many people sort of, well, not how many. I haven't spoken to like everybody, but
Yeah.
like there was a real variety of people coming to that project. So there were a lot of
Mm.
people who'd done acting before, who'd like
Yeah.
made it their almost their career. So there's people there
Yeah.
who have done like professional acting gigs.
Mm.
But then there's so Abby hadn't really done much voice acting when she started.
Mm.
And you hadn't done any voice acting before you did it either.
No.
So it's interesting to sort of I guess come into something brand new like that. Was it
Yeah.
dare I ask if it was scary?
No, it wasn't. I think I was more intrigued than scared. I was like, I wonder what this is. I'm intrigued to see like what happens and how this whole process happens and how it all turns out in the end. So yeah, more intrigued about it all than scared. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Which I suppose is a good attitude to take to it because you don't want to go into
Mm.
something being scared, I guess.
Yeah. 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 No.
But yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So yeah, so you got to sort of be Doctor Who for
Yes, I
the
can officially say that. And
yeah,
I can.
you've been Doctor
Yeah,
Who.
I have been the Doctor.
I know it's great and yeah. So also
Mm.
I can't remember actually if in the snippet that was on BBC Radio, it was the
Yeah.
first scene of episode 5, I think. If you're in that snippet, you were actually on BBC Radio as the
I
Doctor.
think yes, because I did listen to that. I did listen to that as well to see if it was like me. Yeah, I think if my memory serves me correctly, which isn't a
You are
good
in that
reference point to.
snippet.
Oh, I am. Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, cool.
I think you are.
Yeah. I think something does ring a bell there in that situation. Yeah, when me being there. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's not like the longest monologue in the world, but
No.
it's still a
No, it's
nice
not.
little moment
Yeah.
where,
Yeah.
you're there too.
I'm
Red
there.
October
Yeah.
standby. So yeah, you have technically
Yep.
been on the BBC as Doctor Who. So
Sweet.
yeah, that's something to tell to your grandkids. I was Doctor Who on the BBC. I mean, technically, I get to do that too. So
Yeah.
oh god, now I do feel old. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's not much discussion been had about returning as that doctor for
No.
anything. But I mean, you know,
If
I'm
if
not.
if if the if for whatever reason the opportunity to do the right itself, then yeah, I'd do it again. Yeah, I would. If it were to happen again, I mean, not that I know it will or anything, but if it were to, yeah,
I mean, you know,
happy
we're
to.
doing stuff for the 60th anniversary. I'm fairly certain
Uh,
that the door is open there,
mm,
so for that doctor to return.
mm,
So yeah, no, the possibility does exist.
yes.
But you know, to be fair, from like a work perspective, you've sort of been doing a little bit more with your Star Trek stuff than you have with the Doctor Who stuff.
Yes.
So this is the point in the video for those of you who are listening to this while you're doing your washing up. We're going to start talking about Star Trek now. We're going to start talking about
Yeah.
Star Trek. So if you don't like Star
Yeah.
Trek,
So
tough.
yeah, so far, everyone you've had on these things, or from what I'm gonna guess, or from what I've seen, like so far, everyone you've had on there has had at least before Nexus Point some prior history with Madness Productions in terms of Doctor Who stuff. Me, it was Nexus Point. That's it.
It's interesting because basically the way that it sort of worked out was the first guest was my co-producer, whom I founded the
Yeah,
channel with,
yeah,
who's still in the process of making stuff for his doctor.
yeah,
Then it was Captain Peanut, who
yeah,
he joined with Nexus Point, but his actual contributions started sooner because he had the prequels and stuff.
yeah.
Same with Abby, because Abby's at the time of recording this, Abby's podcast hasn't come out yet, but Abby started with Nexus Point, but again appeared in the prequels. Then it's George Gydra, and George Gydra has been doing Doctor Who fan stuff for absolutely ages.
Mm.
So, in terms of like people, you definitely are sort of standing out in terms of like people who've appeared in this
Yeah,
stuff because,
yeah,
your contributions begin and end with Nexus Point as far as Doctor
yeah,
Who stuff goes.
yeah.
Except technically not, because before we talk properly,
Yes.
before we talk properly about Captain Michael Hunter and Star Trek Morningstar and Star Trek Venture and all the other fun, crazy Star Trek stuff, let's talk a little bit about a certain captain's cameo in episode 1 of the Nth Doctor series 2. So yeah,
Yes, that was definitely that was fun. I mean, before that there was only one other time that I was able to be Hunter on screen, and that was for a college project. But it's something that I definitely enjoy doing, and one day it is my sincere hope that I can do it like for proper episodes in the future, because that is what the ideal scenario for Morningstar was well, still is when I was thinking it up, because and I remember thinking it when you said that there aren't many Star Trek audios, and I mean that's what it is at the moment, but I want to be able to one day, when however I get the money, whether it be through YouTube or whatever else I do, I want to be able to get together a massive old film crew and a massive old set, and just even if it's just like a season of one like volume or season of like just separate episodes, I want to try and film episodes of Morningstar on camera and actually act them out physically, because the two times I've done it, both for my project and for the Nth Doctor series 2, it was so fun.
I mean, I used to be a bit of a fan film snob. I used to be all about if I can't make it as a fan film, I don't want to make it.
Yeah.
Nexus Point sort of taught me the joy of fan audios, but
Mm.
I've got to admit there is always something a bit special about making it as a fan film. So I suppose what's it like? We'll talk a little bit about what was it like bringing that character to a Doctor Who episode, and is there any way in which you played him differently than normal? And then we'll reverse engineer from there into talking about that character from there. So what was it like bringing that character to a Doctor Who episode, which is an
Um.
interesting. It's almost a crossover with very little fanfare, which I thought was a really fun thing to
Yeah.
do.
Um. I mean, instead of anything different I did, nothing really was different. But it was definitely interesting because I know it wasn't anything new that I know I'd done before, but it was definitely still quite fun to do because I know there have been times when when we did like the whole duet TikTok stories where people would do one video, then the other person would duet that video and stuff, and everything else. And I know there were a few times where I think when you did one where um not only like basically all your fans that had some sort of ability to do so made like create helped in the story that was being created where the venture needed assistance from everyone around it, and therefore Katie Haynes. No, wait, I
Yeah,
can
it
never
is
remember
Katie Haynes.
yeah, I can never remember the name, but
Katie
yeah,
Haynes was in that
yeah,
one, and Peanut was in that
yes,
one,
yeah,
and you were in that one.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that
Katie
was.
Haynes as the 13th Doctor, so yeah, but
Yeah. No, that was a fun little crossover
yeah,
thing, and to
yeah.
be honest, I've still got that half edited on my iPad. I need to get back to that because that was a really crazy fun thing to make. It was just
Yeah,
also like really complex to pull together, so I need
yeah,
to pull my finger out with that one a bit.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, so sort of dialing back a little bit on the proverbial
yeah,
timeline here for a moment.
yep,
So you've told me before that why you started Morningstar and stuff, but
yeah.
so what is it that sort of kickstarted your desire to make a Star Trek fan audio series, and sort of how did that come about?
Well, it doesn't happen to be related to the Nexus Point. Because, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know, all I do know is that for whatever reason, once I finished doing my official recordings for the character that I was finally cast for, I was like, I actually really enjoyed that. Like, I was surprised at how much I actually enjoyed reading the fan role. And so I was like, I might actually try making my own sort of thing, you know? And I mean, me being me, I mean, I've died from different fandoms over the years from my childhood. James Bond, Doctor Who, Marvel stuff. I mean, I like them all the same equally now, but Star Trek has been the one that has taken the top shelf of my most favorite thing of all time. It is my life basically, and
I couldn't possibly tell from the little starships you've got
yes,
on you. So
yes.
you, dear listeners in the future, cannot see that Toby has more starship models on the top of his chest of drawers than I have Star Trek models in my entire house. Not through lack of trying, I add, but just because Eagle Moss died before I really had the money to buy more. It's
I mean,
depressing.
there are more ships off camera above my shelves, and a Lego DS9 on the shelf up there, and a Lego bridge that I made in the loft as well.
Oh man! Oh, so much Trek
And then
memorabilia.
several props in the drawer in the spare room.
Oh man, this is my envious face. I am envious. The listeners can't see
Yeah.
my envious face, but trust me, this is the face of envy. But yeah, so
Yes.
so obviously Star Trek,
Yes. Yeah.
massive part of your
So
fandom identity.
yeah. So obviously with that, I thought I want to try. I want to try some more of this audio-based stuff or more acting stuff. And I thought, why not do that? Why not make a Star Trek audio series thing? And me being me and the kid that I sometimes always can be, I've had done this thing where I've played like little episode scenarios in my head, like if I did have one, what would happen in it and stuff. And I mean, in those little mind episodes that I made, I did have I had the character of Michael Hunter and stuff, so I thought I'd try and transfer that over. And as it happens on the game Star Trek Online, the character of Captain Michael Hunter happens to have a ship, which I have named the USS Morningstar. So therefore, once I thought of everything out and thought, oh, how am I going to do this? I thought to myself, right, character Michael Hunter, that's me, and the ship's going to be the USS Morningstar. And then I started creating some other characters around that, and lo and behold, was created Star Trek Morningstar.
Indeed, which is
Yes.
it's a fun series. I think very
Oh yeah.
ambitious. So I mean, one of the things that I find interesting about Morningstar is obviously it's your first project. It's a big
Yes.
project. Very
Yes.
ambitious. There's like 16 episodes a series, and you've got
Ish. Yeah.
almost two full series written, which is really exciting. I think that's really cool. So for my part, so obviously because all of this seems to relate back to the lockdown and TikTok, one of the things that I was doing during that was creating my own Star Trek OC, Captain Gabriel Carver, and you very generously included him
Yep.
in the early episodes as well.
Oh, with that thing was sort of thing of the thought process was quite cool, was really short one to be honest, because obviously my thought was right. I've got this episode here. I need a captain of sorts to in this pilot to come to help alongside Captain Hunter. And I thought, hold on. Jed's got a Captain OC, and I went over to his Discord and wrote to him, and he was like, "Yeah, sure." So you then I used him. So yeah, the first thought I had, so I was like, "Let's use Jed. That might work."
Yeah, let's just ask that guy. He'll do it, and then that guy did it.
Yeah,
I did it. So yeah, no,
yeah,
it's really fun, and to be honest, it's part of, in a weird sort of circular way, Nexus Point inspired Morningstar inspired
yeah,
Adventure, because I thought to myself,
yeah,
there's nothing stopping me from making a Star Trek fan audio
yeah.
series. It can work. I've done big projects before, so the hell with it. I'm gonna do Venture as a thing
Yeah.
now. So yeah, that was really exciting to sort of jump into that world. So I'm sort of curious. So have you watched or experienced much in the way of Star Trek fan content, really?
Yes. So, I've watched the odd like fan film here and there. I couldn't tell you who they were from because I can't remember. I just remember I know I've seen certain things. But the one I can tell you of is that I did watch religiously until it unfortunately stopped. Um, was Star Trek Continues. I
Yeah.
watched that thing and for its entirety, and I absolutely. And the thing is, this is the funny thing. I think at that point I'd never watched the original series, but I loved Star Trek Continues. I don't know why. Something in me just clicked, and the funny thing is, I still can't manage to get through the original series for some reason. For some reason, my brain was only liked the Star Trek Continues and nothing else about the original series. But I watched that and through its entirety, and that's pretty much the only sort of fan production content with Star Trek I've had experience with. That's what
which is which is interesting because I think continues is very much the upper end of what like Star Trek fan stuff can do, because they
Oh yeah,
they were back they were back in the pre-Axanar days, back before Axanar fucked
yeah.
everybody over. Um, don't at me, Axanar fans. They fucked us over whether they meant to or not.
I don't
But
even know what
there
Axon
was
was.
I know. So Star Trek Axanar was a big fan series. Sorry, a big fan film that was crowdfunding, and this was back when everybody was crowdfunding, and this was back when crowdfunding meant $100K Kickstarters. So
Okay,
continues got $100,000 an episode from Kickstarters to make their series. Yeah, that's why
Jesus.
they look so good. No, it's big money, or it was big money. But the
Yeah,
problem is, the guys behind Axanar were sued by Paramount because they were
yeah.
basically they were selling stuff, and they were using the money from the Kickstarters to make a for-profit studio, supposedly. So that kind of kiboshed the whole fucking Star Trek fan film game for a while. I mean, that big chunk of text that you asked me for from the credits of Venture, that's
Yes.
something that Paramount actually want on fan productions now. That's a legal
Okay.
requirement. That's
Oh,
something their legal department wrote. So,
it's a good thing I asked for that then, isn't it? Jesus.
oh yeah.
I didn't
But
even
sorry,
know
you were
that.
saying.
That's what I was gonna say because I remember. I mean, this was when I was a bit. That's like I think I was in either like mid or early teens at this point. So I couldn't. I didn't remember what it was about. All I remember was I was enjoying Continues, and then they said that some sort of well, obviously it was a licensing deal. Some sort of licensing deal been undercut, and something happened where which meant they couldn't do Continues anymore. And I was like, oh, I never understood what the actual reason why, because obviously I was too young to understand it. But I was just like, oh, damn it. But now I think now I know why. It's because of that whole debacle.
Yeah, no, it was a hell of a thing. Axanar are
Hmm.
still making stuff, which is really surprising. Like they
Oh.
sort of they fought it, and then they sort of, I don't know if they won or they lost or whatever, but they're still crowdfunding, and they're still making the Axanar fan film, which, to be fair, the stuff
Hmm.
they've made is high quality. It's just sort of a mixed bag of stuff. To be honest,
Mm.
the sort of stuff that I feel like you should watch is there's a guy called so there's a few guys who sort of work together. They're in the UK now, sort of led by Sam Cockings of Trek Yards, who
Yes,
does
I'm aware of him.
yeah. So
I'm aware of him.
he does fan films and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just need to look him up actually. So he's worked a lot with Starship Intrepid, who are like a Scottish group.
Okay.
So a lot of what they do is very much in the vein of the fan films that you've made, actually. So stuff like green screen stuff, one or
Mm.
two cast members.
Yeah.
So lots of stuff along that line. And then Sam Cockings also has his own fan stuff on where is it? Power 543 fan films.
Okay.
Where again, it's a lot of stuff that's basically just green screen fan
Yeah.
films where it's like one or two cast members, there's a green screen, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of CGI spaceships flying around. So I feel like if you wanted to make fan films, the handy thing about those is that they are more achievable realistically for people who don't have shit tons of money, than something like say Continues is. So I have a lot of respect for
Mm.
those guys for the work that they
Mm.
do. And obviously, I've talked a big game over the years about how I don't feel like fan films should be a hobby that needs tons of money and tons of people to make something fun for your own
Mm.
enjoyment. And
Mm.
I mean, to be fair, like if you look at the fan films that you've been involved in where you've played Captain Hunter, so there was the one that you did for your college
Yeah.
project, which was just you, me, the voice of whoever voiced James Garner,
Yeah.
and then a green screen basically. And
Yes.
that really came out quite nice. I thought that was a really fun
Mm.
little
Yeah.
film. And then obviously your appearance in Nth Doctor series 2 as well,
Yes.
which again is just this really fun but really simple to shoot little thing of just you and a green
Mm.
screen.
Mm.
So stuff like that I feel is it's not only more than achievable, but it's just what's the best way of putting it? It demonstrates that the hobby can be accessible without having, to spend shit tons of money that nobody has. So I'm going to get off my soapbox for a moment. So I am curious. I'm curious though. So you did that fan film as a college project. So what was that like? I mean, for one thing, you're writing something that's a fan film, so you're
Yeah.
aware of the limitations of it's
Yeah.
basically going to be you, the other guys, green screen, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, what was the experience of like? I mean, the best way of describing it is what's the difference in the experience between being on camera, acting to
Yeah.
camera in the
Yeah.
uniform and stuff,
Yeah.
and acting, for audio where I'm not going to presume that you never record in the uniform
I
because
don't
you're
actually.
recording in the
I
uniform today, but
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought because obviously I mean normally it's what the funny thing was with the audio stuff. It's especially nowadays when when my part time work I do really sort of takes the fucking energy out of me. I sort of end up recording the episodes whenever I have them like the energy or motivation to do it. Which will
hmm.
normally be after I'm watching a TV series here and hearing them say their lines. And I'm like, oh, imagine if I was there doing that. Oh, hold on, I'm reading lines. Oh, let's do some script reading now. And so and also I'm normally just in normal casual wear, either that or pajamas, which depending on what day it is. But the reason I was here in this now is because obviously, well, it was pre-arranged, and obviously it's I don't know, I just thought why not, fuck it, let's do it. So yeah.
I'm not casting judgment. I'm sat here in a Starfleet
Mm.
uniform too,
But
looking for all the world like a Liam Shaw cosplayer.
yeah, but so now to answer your question, um, so I think at the moment they both have their own uh advantage, have their own pros and cons. So the advantages of obviously the fan films I did for you and myself was the fact that I was obviously able to record it on screen with in the uniform and all that sort of stuff. The con was that there's a lot of dialogue in the main Morningstar series, which I would have, I would have loved to be able to do a proper recording of for fan film as well and do it that way. But obviously, the way I want to do it is obviously at the moment not financially viable. And and so sort of, if you can see where I'm going with this, then well done. But obviously, then with the audio series, again, some of the dialogue, the pros of it are a lot of the dialogue that I've written, I fucking love to read because I don't know, that's just the way I've written it. But it's also the fact that I would love to be doing it in the uniform on a camera set and everything else. So, yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So, were you directing yourself in that fan film?
Yes,
Or
I was.
okay. So, was it, as far as college projects go? Then was it like just you doing that, or was it like a small team of people?
Yeah, it was, and the reason why it was just me is because and it's kind of due to the work I do with YouTube, or I say on YouTube even. I have this thing, and it's sort of also a reason why I'm sort of, every time I think about going to look for like jobs as like a camera operator or part of a media team in general, I always get hesitant because I can quite easily, just myself, set up a camera for a face cam and record my gameplay and everything and do quite a video like that. And the problem is, I know I have a thing of also not always understanding exactly what it is people want or need, because I know that for whatever reason, something that could be it's simply a very simple direction to one person is a complete, or sorry, what to me. So I did it on by myself because I thought I know it is what I know it is what I know it's what I know what it is I want, and um it'd just be easier to do it on my own than having to try and get a team in, so some other people in trying to help me film it. Because another thing I have is that I've got this thing where I feel like I fear being an asshole to people too much. The point where it's a normal thing for people to help you, I don't want people to help me, because in terms of like, especially with with Morningstar and all the audition stuff, there were so many times, because obviously, as a casting director, you have to be like strict about what it is you want, and if someone doesn't cut it, someone doesn't cut it. But with me, I'm a bit like, you don't cut it, but I don't want to be an asshole. So so yeah, it's kind of
I know that
a
feeling.
whole massive thing of all that. Just yeah, that's why with them alone. So yeah,
It is. It is. You know, that is one of the harder parts of sort of, I guess, casting in general, is that moment where you're sort of like, this is not a good audition, but I don't know how to say that.
yeah,
So I can't do the thing.
yeah,
Social anxiety. So yeah, no, it's
yeah.
yeah, no, that's fair. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, the results speak for themselves. It was a really solidly put together fan film, and like, you know,
Oh yeah,
realistically, like you know, it's definitely sort of, you know, getting there. And obviously, like,
yes,
to put
yes.
none too fine a point on it, you're
Yeah,
what, like 19, something like
20.
that. 20. You're 20 years old.
21 this year. Yes.
Yeah, so you're 21 this year.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've got a fairly long time to sort of you know, keep working on your camera
Yeah.
skills, keep working on your green screen
Yeah.
skills. And you're already doing pretty damn well for yourself, I dare say. You
Yeah.
know, so that's obviously, I mean, do you see yourself continuing to make this sort of content for the next few years, or because I mean, Morningstar's a
So
big project, so
I have actually had a thought about this recently, and I thought to myself, if there's ever a scenario, just because of the way I write stuff, if there's ever a scenario where I can write something as like a short track, I'll do it for short track purposes, because that will be the most achievable thing, the easiest thing for me to do at this moment in time. Yeah, yeah, that's probably it's the easiest thing to do.
that's fair. That's fair. I mean, God. Sorry, I'm just taking a
Yeah,
moment.
that's fine.
So, obviously, I'm appearing in your series on
Yes.
your channel,
Yes.
which is linked below, by the way, people listening to this
Mm.
video. So if you're interested in watching any of the stuff that Sergeant Beckett has done previously with his Morningstar stuff, it's
Yes.
all there. You can go watch it. I highly encourage you to do
Yes.
so. But I
I
mean,
mean, I
like,
mean, if you want to, you can also go see the stuff where I make a complete ass of myself playing games. But I mean, that we're not on about that. We're on about audio stuff. But yeah.
I mean, you know, it's interesting because you and I were having this conversation.
Yes.
You and I were having this conversation where the 30-second teaser I had of just the Starship Venture floating in fucking space had more views in the space of a couple of months than anything I've done in
Mm.
nearly 10 years.
Yes.
Whereas for you, the Star Trek stuff is actually kind of
Somewhat lowish. It's not like lowest, but it's not like the first thing you see on like the most popular section on the YouTube homepage. Yeah.
which is interesting. Um I mean, I suppose one question I think is worth asking is, does that bother you?
No. I mean, no. I've actually never thought about it really that much, but I don't think so. No, because obviously, I mean, God, compared to the some of the stuff I do, I mean, on there I do things like I've played Battlefield before. I've played Detroit Become Human. I've played Forza, myriad of other games. I've done vlogs about Comic Con. I've done things on card games. I do all sorts of other stuff, including music videos and stuff. And so so if you think about it, among all of this other stuff I do on the channel, Star Trek and even further down the pipeline, Star Trek fan productions probably isn't something that a lot of my or people think first go to watch or ever think to go to see when they see my channel and stuff. So yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I'm assuming that you're not primarily thinking about the views when you're making stuff like Morningstar. It's more of a passion project than a watch me people project.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it is. I mean, hopefully, I mean, obviously, there is the hope, the desire that people do watch enough to give it a good of viewing stuff. But it is mainly the fact that it is just really cool to play. Funnily enough, at the age of 20, play the captain of a second fleet starship, going around doing Star Trek things.
Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, it is just really
Yeah.
fun.
I mean, yeah, no, I cannot lie.
Mm.
That is pretty much the
It's
sole appeal of
also
it for me.
pretty cool, also because I mean, obviously this is and you obviously know this as well. But it's my series as well, so it's I get to I get to play myself how I want to play myself, and one place where that does differ very highly to Star Trek Adventure is, well, I mean, one thing, especially Hunter, is based on me,
Hmm.
and my vocabulary has a lot of swearing in it. So, with
Yeah,
that
yeah.
comes a Star Trek series that you hear with a lot of swear words in it.
Yeah, you do sort of make the air a bit blue with your Star Trek series. But you know,
I
fair play.
just,
If that's like
yeah,
my attitude to it has always sort of been that, you know, first and foremost, it's your series,
yeah,
and fuck it, if you want to have swearing, have swearing. I
yeah,
don't think that's a bad thing per se. Um, I think what's been interesting about it, sort of working on Morningstar, has just been striking that balance between making sure that, you know, when I'm working on my character
yeah,
for your series, that
yeah,
he has enough to do in your series to sort of justify him being there.
yeah,
And if nobody ever comes and watches Venture, or God forbid if Venture never happens, it's happening, but if nothing ever comes of it, that there's enough there for people to think this is a well-rounded supporting character.
yes,
But conversely, I don't want to have all of the most important things for that character
yeah,
happen on somebody else's series,
yeah,
which has sort of led to certain scenes
mm,
being moved to Venture
yeah.
from Morningstar.
Funnily enough, on that sort of thing, I guess I'm sort of trying to do the same thing, and other day, I realized that obviously you'd moved the whole don't know when this is coming out, but if so, just in case spoilers for anyone who haven't seen it. For when Gabriel hears about basically the whole ins and outs of how of what happened to his father and stuff. Obviously, originally that was written. The entire thing was written on my thing. Then obviously you wanted to have it on your thing as you were writing your series.
Hmm.
And then I was doing some reading through for mine the other day, and I realized, hold on, that scene was moved. I don't have actually anything I don't actually have any of that scene for my series. I need to go find the episode and then put it into the new thing. And so yeah, I literally from like the captain's log down to the end of that script that you wrote with that bit in, I actually put it onto my thing and then reworded it slightly different to make it fit with mine. So yeah.
Fair, fair. But yeah, I mean, from your perspective, so
Yep.
what's your perspective, I suppose, on playing the character of Michael Hunter in the stuff that's going to be coming out on Mad, sort of in Venture and stuff? Because obviously we've just recorded a scene, like
Yes.
literally
Yeah.
right before this podcast recording, we
Yes.
recorded the minisode that you're going to be appearing in, sort of in the
Yes.
first few minisodes of Venture. So what's that like?
I oh I I don't know actually. It's the only thing I can come up with that I've been saying throughout the entire time of this podcast, explaining how I've played this character, is I can't think of anything else for it than I think it was just really fun to do. I can't I don't know, because I just never really thought about it. I
I mean,
mean,
is there a difference in your head between the way that you've written the character and the way that I tend to write the character?
um, I think mainly it's the only difference is that um I mean, given our age gap, there is obviously there's of the main thing of whenever you write stuff, it sounds a bit more. God, how am I gonna say this? Like it's written a lot more, a lot more. I'm gonna say like sort of better, sort of more workable grammar or like literacy. What thing? However, if you get what I mean.
It basically reads like a guy 10 years older than you wrote it.
Something like yeah, because I mean, I don't know if anyone else whoever else has read it would think that, but whenever I do read the scripts, I can definitely tell. Other than the fact that the fonts are massively different, I can definitely tell that it's an episode in which has been written by myself or either you, Jed, or it says I can tell if it's an episode I've written, but there's a small scene where you've contributed a bit or you've added a bit to something I've already written. I can tell there's a difference because obviously I've only been on CFE for 20 years, well
Hmm.
21 years maybe, but I've only got a somewhat the moment limited vocabulary in this old noggin of mine, and it's definitely whenever I write my stuff, it's definitely visible when you rewrite it. Like I can just tell that there's obviously a lot more of that, of just lot more experience of writing gone into it and stuff. So yeah.
I mean, that's fair. And I think you'll forgive me, I don't want to sound patronizing when I say this, but one of the big motivations that I have for helping with Morningstar and sort of being in Morningstar,
Yep.
and I have similar motivations when I work with other people, to be honest, is I think it's fucking amazing to see young creators coming into fandoms and making stuff. And I'm acutely aware that when I was that age and I was going into fandoms and stuff, it was a different time where people weren't, well, it wasn't as easy to communicate with people, but it was also
Mm.
people weren't as welcoming and people weren't as supportive. And I'm conscious that I have a master's degree in script writing and I am a composer and I am an
Uh,
actor, I have all these skills which I'm clearly capable of helping people out with stuff.
mm.
So,
I mean,
I'm
that's
not
not
going to say
patronizing as well.
I mean,
Not
I'm not
patronizing
going
as
to say
well.
I see it as my duty to help out, but I kind of do because young creatives are the people who are going to be going out into this stuff and making stuff, for the next generation of fan content, consumers to enjoy.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm a crusty old fart by that by that metric, and I think when you see young content creators and you see people just starting out in
Mm,
the hobby,
mm,
you can either be encouraging or you can be a dick, and I have no desire to be a dick.
yeah. It's not wasn't that wasn't patronizing at all. I mean, there's definitely one thing for certain that is definitely one good thing for you, like looking over the scripts, is that uh, I don't think I've been diagnosed with it, but there is a possibility I might have some form of like a dyslexia or something, because there'll be times where I think I've written an episode flawlessly, and then I'll read through it once. I'm like, oh, there's a few things there. Oh, missed that. I missed that. I missed that. Oh, that's different. No, that should be like that. Read it through again. Oh no, even more stuff. Yep. And then I'll think, oh, that's fine. Go over the Jed, and then I just get like say for example like 30 notifications coming through my phone say Jed was here, has made these notifications, and I'm like, oh yep, no, yeah, okay, no, yeah. Oh, there was so much more than I thought. So yeah, I have a tendency to do a lot of spelling mistakes, and it's good that I have Jed to look him over, because it tends to be that there's a lot of them, and he just has a keen eye in spotting them out.
I mean, I did not pay 4.5 grand for a master's degree in scriptwriting to then not be able to write scripts and script edit. And you know what? You know what though? Like it's a genuine joy to sort of be part of the process of helping other people make stuff as well. And
Mm,
and genuinely, I really do enjoy that side of the whole hobby. It's
mm,
a metric ton of fun. And to be honest, the thing that really excites me though is part of the collaborative process is always sort of pointing out, okay, actually, what if you thought about it this way? So, without
mm.
delving into spoiler territory,
Yep.
without delving into spoiler territory, I feel like there have been moments in your series where I've been able to sort of point and go,
Yeah.
but what about this? But what about
Fine.
this?
Now, correct. Now, do let me know on this, because I'm not actually too sure. But one thing that I know, one thing that I do that probably isn't the best way to write things, and I know it isn't, because I know I've had to make addendums to things I like in the past. But the way I write the series is that I do it on I'll sort of, with like slim guidelines of what I want exactly. I'll write it as it happens as it goes along. I'll make up as I go along. So I'll say, for example, I'll have a basic episode layout, like what I want exactly to happen, but then I will then write it out as it happens and as I feel it happens. I haven't planned massive character arcs or anything. The way I write them, it just some sort of happen, and I just work through them like that. And so there have been a lot of times when Jen has asked me, and you have asked me, if like for example, like for or what do you want, for example, if it's a reference for something that he's watching his series, it's like I'm writing this little part, what do you want, I want this character in it, what sort of thing would you like this character to do, how do they act, how would they act this happen, and I'm like, I've never actually thought that far ahead. I don't know. Is that something? Is it something? Is something that you do as like thinking far ahead, and and like in advance how these characters are gonna turn out, or is it something like me where you just make up as you go along in a sort of way? I'm guessing not. I'm guessing it's the former more than the latter.
I'm more of a. I believe that the term in NaNoWriMo circles is plantser. So somewhere between being a planner who plans out
Yeah.
everything in advance and a pantser who does it seat of their pants entirely. I'm
Okay.
somewhere in between. I am a plantser. So there's some stuff. For example, that when I went into Star Trek Venture, for example, there are character arcs to do with Captain Gabriel Carver, which I knew ahead of time this is a core facet of his character.
Mm.
And then there's some stuff. For example, some stuff that appeared in some scenes that I wrote for another Venture character who appeared in Morningstar. Some stuff that I wrote for her, which sort of, without going into spoiler territory, that stuff occurred to me as I was writing, and I was like, oh, actually, that could work really nicely. Let's include that. Let's delve into that a little bit
Mm,
because that's interesting. That's
yeah.
important. So it's a half and
Mhm.
half kind of thing
Mm,
where I guess the trick is being aware, roughly speaking, of what you want to happen
yeah.
for these characters.
Yeah.
Being aware, here's this
Mm,
character at point A when I start with them, here's point C where I sort of want to leave off with them.
yeah.
But
Mm,
being open to point B, hopping between point B, point 5, B point 6, B point 7 before you finally do get to point C. Being
yeah.
open to there being all sorts of different like crazy fun stuff to do. So,
Yeah. Mm.
basically plan, but don't plan strictly. Don't
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
to the point where you can't diverge into other courses.
Yeah. No, I
That's
don't. I
how I
sort
tend to
of
do it.
because I've got like it's like I said a minute ago. I have like certain things where I do have either certain character arcs that I want to have or whatever, or certain episode arcs that I want. But as far as that goes, that's as far as sort of thing goes. But again, like there are many things that I think I've definitely benefited from where you have um like suggested a character arc, and I realized actually that could be very beneficial and everything and this and that. And there's also been many times when I've actually been really made to really think about it. Like for example, again, spoilers for anyone whenever this comes out. For well, like when we were talking about Captain Patel and the character arc that has suddenly kind of come out of that thing, which I
Mm.
the way like and the way that you sort of mentioned to me like so how do you think is it going to be like a thing where she's like this kind of character for the rest of the time, or is it going to be a thing where she's going to have like a redemption thing? And I was like, never crossed my mind to begin with. But yeah,
This is the thing though, is when other people come in and they start looking at your characters,
yeah,
there is the certain joy of, ooh, actually, I'd never thought about it that way. So I think,
yeah,
and I think the joy about Star Trek is that it's a big universe. You
oh
can do a
yeah,
metric ton with that universe. You can do a metric
mm.
ton of fun stuff, sort of going into that, and yeah, no, it's a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
fun.
definitely, definitely.
So yeah, yeah. So to sort of round off then, so you will definitely be appearing in Star Trek Venture on Mad as Captain Michael Hunter.
Indeed, I will. Yes.
Indeed. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
always
Indeed. Yes.
exciting.
Yes. Indeed.
Obviously, I have already appeared as Captain Gabriel Carver on your channel, and I will
Yes.
continue to appear in Star Trek Morningstar as Captain Gabriel Carver,
Yep.
along with the cast of Star Trek Venture, who will
Yep.
occasionally be making appearances in Morningstar.
Yep.
We actually have a cast. I'm not going to announce the cast in this podcast because we
Woo!
need to finalize some stuff, but we have a cast. I think we've pretty much got everybody. Like certainly by the time this comes out, I intend that we should have everybody and that we should have started like getting stuff planned out for that. So
Same
yeah,
here. Same here.
it's exciting. It's exciting.
Mm,
There's a lot of fun stuff happening, and
mm,
obviously it's just fun to be able to go into that world. So
definitely.
yeah, so I suppose the only thing left to do is my usual outro, which is thank you everybody so much for watching. In the links, in this various links in the description below, you will find links to Sergeant Beckett's channel, where I encourage
Indeed.
you go subscribe, watch Star Trek
Indeed.
content. Star Trek content is fun. There's a lot of like little snippets of Morningstar stuff on there, which is really
Yes.
nice. And also a metric ton of Star Trek Online videos of just like ships flying around and
Yes.
stuff,
Yes.
which is always
Star
fun.
Trek Online cinematic videos.
Which
My
it's a lovely genre.
my substitute for not being able to blender.
I mean, to be fair, like as I have a lot of respect for people who can blender, but if it works, it works. And I think
Yeah.
I think in the case of the stuff done with the Star Trek Online cinematic videos, it really works. Like
Mm.
obviously there are times when it's a bit more obvious than others that it's been recorded from a video game.
Yeah.
Like for example when the little overlays come up when the ships use skilled.
Yeah, that's the one thing that they don't actually allow me to. They allow you to deactivate so many things in the camera editing pathways of that thing. They don't allow you to edit that out, or at least I haven't seen any way that that's possible. So yeah, that
I
is the
mean,
one annoying thing factor of that.
it would be so great if they did let you get rid of that, because that's so frustrating.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah,
Although, but
so
it does occur very rarely, so I mean, it is just a small thing, but yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like, I think generally speaking, it does create a wonderful genre of stuff. And obviously, you made the title sequence for Morningstar using that
Yes.
setup. The
And
title
many
sequence
other,
for Venture, the
and
title
many
sequence
other.
for Venture was made with the same setup as well. So yeah,
Yes.
lots of fun.
Yes.
But yeah, so go, links in the description below. Go check out
Indeed.
Sergeant Beckett's stuff. Keep an eye out for Star Trek Venture. All you Doctor Who heads who've been listening to this, hoping for more Doctor Who content, no.
No.
But on a sort of vaguely Doctor Who ending note, there probably will be at some point opportunities for Sergeant Beckett's Doctor to return. So yeah,
Huzzah.
huzzah! So keep an ear out for that too. And in the meantime, thank you everybody so much for watching, and we shall see you in the next episode of the Mad Pod.
Adios.
Goodbye.